The year was 2008, and Michael sat in his car outside his foreclosed home, staring at the eviction notice taped to the front door. He had a good job earning $75,000 a year as a marketing manager. His wife worked part-time as a nurse. Together, they brought in over $90,000 annually. By all appearances, they were living the American dream. But here he was losing everything. The shocking truth? Michael had no idea where his money was going. Month after month, year after year, he earned a solid income, but somehow there was never enough. The credit cards were maxed out, the mortgage was 3 months behind, and their savings account had exactly $47 in it. Michael wasn't a gambler, he wasn't addicted to drugs, and he hadn't made any catastrophically bad investments. He had simply never learned to manage his money. He was about to become one of the 78% of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck, regardless of their income level. This is the silent crisis of our time, and it affects people at every income bracket. The difference between financial stability and financial chaos isn't usually about how much you earn, but about how you manage what you have. Personal finance management sounds intimidating, doesn't it? It conjures images of complex spreadsheets, boring budget meetings, and endless sacrifice. But the reality is far different and far more empowering. Managing your personal finances is simply about understanding where your money comes from, where it goes, and making intentional decisions about both. It's about creating a system that works for you rather than feeling like money controls you. The beautiful truth is that financial management isn't rocket science, and you don't need to be a math genius or have studied economics to master it. What you need is awareness, a plan, and the willingness to make some changes. The transformative power of good financial management cannot be overstated. It's the difference between constantly worrying about money and sleeping peacefully at night. It is the difference between feeling trapped in a job you hate and having the freedom to pursue work you love. It is the difference between financial emergencies derailing your life and having a cushion that lets you handle unexpected challenges with confidence. Let's start with a fundamental truth that most people never fully grasp until it's too late. Your income is not your wealth. This might sound obvious, but think about how many people you know who earn impressive salaries, yet seem to have nothing to show for it. They drive nice cars, live in beautiful homes, wear designer clothes, and take exotic vacations, but behind the facade, they're drowning in debt and anxiety. Meanwhile, you might know someone who earns a modest income but owns their home outright, has no debt, and has built substantial savings. The difference isn't the income, it's the management. There's a fascinating study that tracked lottery winners over time, and the results are sobering. Within 5 years of winning, 70% of lottery winners end up broke. These are people who received millions of dollars overnight, yet they couldn't maintain their wealth. Why? Because they never developed the skills and habits necessary to manage money effectively. Suddenly having money doesn't solve financial problems if you don't know how to manage it. Conversely, learning to manage money effectively means you can build wealth regardless of your starting point. The foundation of personal finance management begins with something incredibly simple yet profoundly difficult for most people: knowing exactly where your money goes. Right now, if someone asked you to account for every dollar you spent last month, could you do it? Most people can tell you their big expenses like rent or mortgage, car payments, and maybe their utility bills. But what about everything else? The coffee runs, the impulse purchases at the store, the subscription services you forgot you signed up for, the eating out instead of cooking at home. These small, seemingly insignificant expenses add up to thousands of dollars every year, and most people have no idea it's happening. There is a reason retailers love the phrase, "It's only $5," or "It's just $20." They know that people don't mentally connect these small purchases to their larger financial picture. But here's the reality: if you spend just $5 a day on coffee, that's $35 a week, $150 a month, and $1,820 a year. That's enough to fund an emergency savings account or make extra payments on your debt or invest for your future. I'm not saying you should never buy coffee, but you should be aware of the choice you're making and the real cost of that choice. Tracking your expenses is the starting point for financial awareness, and it's easier now than it's ever been. You can use apps on your phone, spreadsheets on your computer, or even just a notebook where you write down everything you spend. The method doesn't matter. What matters is doing it consistently for at least 1 month, though 3 months will give you a more accurate picture. During this tracking period, don't try to change your spending habits. Just observe and record. You need to see your actual financial behavior, not your idealized version of it. What most people discover during this process is shocking. They find subscription services they don't use, restaurants they eat at far more frequently than they realized, and categories of spending they never consciously acknowledged. This awareness alone often leads to immediate changes because once you see where your money is really going, you naturally start questioning whether those expenses align with your values and goals. Once you have a clear picture of your spending, the next step is creating a budget. But let's reframe what a budget actually is because the word itself carries so much negative baggage. A budget isn't about restriction and deprivation. A budget is simply a plan for your money. It's you deciding in advance what you want your money to do rather than wondering where it all went at the end of the month. Think of it like planning a road trip. If you just get in the car and start driving randomly, you'll end up somewhere but probably not where you want it to be. If you plan your route, you'll arrive at your desired destination. A budget is your financial roadmap. There are many budgeting methods, and the best one is whichever you'll actually stick with. Some people love the traditional approach of allocating specific amounts to different categories. Others prefer the envelope method where you use cash for different spending categories, and when the envelope is empty, you're done spending in that category until next month. Some people thrive with zero-based budgeting where every dollar is assigned a job before the month begins. And still others prefer the simpler 50-30-20 rule where 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment. The key to successful budgeting is making it realistic and flexible. If you love dining out and suddenly create a budget that allows you $0 for restaurants, you'll fail within days and feel discouraged. Instead, look at what you're currently spending in that category and maybe reduce it by 20%. That's still progress and it's sustainable. Build in what I call planned splurges. Money you can spend on whatever you want without guilt. This might seem counterintuitive, but including permission to spend actually makes you more likely to stick with your budget overall. Remember, a budget should reduce your stress about money, not increase it. If your budget is making you miserable, adjust it. The goal is progress, not perfection. What you'll find is that as you get better at budgeting, you naturally become more efficient with your money. You'll start finding creative ways to reduce expenses, not because you have to, but because you want to redirect that money toward things that matter more to you. Now, let's talk about debt because this is where so many people feel absolutely trapped. The average American household carries over $90,000 in debt when you include mortgages, and about $6,000 in credit card debt alone. The weight of this debt affects everything: your stress levels, your relationship with your partner, your career choices, even your health. But here's something important to understand. Not all debt is created equal. There's a difference between debt that builds wealth and debt that destroys it. A mortgage on a reasonably priced home that's increasing in value over time is different from credit. Card debt from buying things you don't remember. Student loans for an education that increased your earning potential are different from a car loan on a luxury vehicle you couldn't afford. The first step in dealing with debt is getting brutally honest about what you owe. Many people avoid this because it's painful, but you cannot solve a problem you won't acknowledge. List every single debt you have, the total amount owed, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Just seeing it all in one place often provides a strange sense of relief because the unknown is usually scarier than the known. For paying off debt, there are two popular approaches, and both work. The debt snowball method has you list your debts from smallest to largest, and pay off the smallest one first while making minimum payments on everything else. Once the smallest debt is paid off, you take that payment amount and add it to the payment on the next smallest debt. The psychological wins of completely eliminating debts keeps you motivated. The debt avalanche method has you list your debts from highest interest rate to lowest, and attack the highest interest rate first. This saves you the most money mathematically. Which should you choose? The one you'll stick with. If you need those quick wins to stay motivated, use the snowball. If you're driven by mathematical optimization, use the avalanche. What matters far more than which method you choose is that you're making progress. While you're paying off debt, avoid taking on new debt. This seems obvious, but many people are simultaneously trying to pay off credit card debt while continuing to charge new purchases to those same cards. You're trying to empty a bathtub while the faucet is still running. If you're serious about getting out of debt, you need to stop adding to it. This might mean cutting up your credit cards temporarily, freezing them in a block of ice, or leaving them at home when you go shopping. Do whatever works for you. One of the most powerful but underutilized tools in personal finance management is the emergency fund. An emergency fund is money set aside specifically for unexpected expenses or income disruptions. It's not for vacations, it's not for Christmas gifts, it's not for a new TV, it's only for true emergencies, car repairs, medical bills, job loss, urgent home repairs. The standard recommendation is to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved in an easily accessible account. If you're the sole earner in your household, if you work in an unstable industry, or if you have health issues, you should aim for 6 months or more. If you have 2 incomes and stable employment, 3 months might be sufficient. Now, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, the idea of saving thousands of dollars probably seems laughable or even insulting. How are you supposed to save 3 to 6 months of expenses when you can barely make it through the current month? Here's the thing, you don't build an emergency fund overnight, and you start smaller than you think. Your first goal isn't 3 to 6 months of expenses. Your first goal is $1,000, just $1,000. If you can save $25 a week, you'll have it in less than a year. If you can manage $50 a week, you'll have it in 5 months. That first $1,000 will handle most common emergencies and break the cycle of going into debt every time something unexpected happens. The psychological impact of having even a small emergency fund cannot be overstated. It changes how you feel about money and about life. Suddenly, an unexpected car repair isn't a catastrophe. It's just an inconvenience. Your water heater breaking doesn't mean choosing between hot showers and paying the electric bill. It means using your emergency fund for exactly what it's designed for. And here's what's amazing. Once you have that emergency fund in place and you use it, you rebuild it. It becomes a cycle of security rather than a cycle of debt. As your emergency fund grows and as you pay off debt, you can start thinking about building real wealth. This is where personal finance management shifts from defensive to offensive. From protecting yourself against problems to actively building the life you want. Wealth building starts with understanding a concept that Albert Einstein allegedly called the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. Compound interest is when your money makes money, and then that money makes money, and then that money makes money. It's exponential growth rather than linear growth. Here's a simple example that illustrates the power of compound interest. If you invest $200 per month starting at age 25 and earn an average annual return of 7%, by age 65, you'll have approximately $500,000. Of that $500,000, you only contributed $96,000. The other $400,000 came from compound growth. Now, if you wait until age 35 to start investing that same $200 per month with the same 7% return, by age 65, you'll have about $244,000. By waiting just 10 years to start, you lost more than half your potential wealth. This is why starting early matters so much, even if you're starting with small amounts. Time is your most valuable asset when it comes to building wealth. If you're older and thinking it's too late, it's not. Starting at 40 is better than starting at 50, and starting at 50 is better than starting at 60. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. For most people, retirement savings should be the priority after establishing an emergency fund and paying off high-interest debt. If your employer offers a retirement plan with matching contributions, this is free money and you should contribute at least enough to get the full match. If your employer matches 50 cents on every dollar up to 6% of your salary and you contribute 6%, you're getting an immediate 50% return on that money. No investment in the world guarantees that kind of return. Beyond employer matching, traditional advice suggests saving 15% of your gross income for retirement. If that seems impossible right now, start with whatever you can manage, even if it's just 1%. Then increase it by 1% every year or every time you get a raise. You'll barely notice the difference in your take-home pay, but over time, you'll build substantial savings. The key is to make it automatic. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your retirement account or have contributions taken directly from your paycheck. When saving is automatic, it happens. When you have to manually transfer money each month, life gets in the way and it doesn't happen. Let us talk about investing because many people are intimidated by it and think it is only for the wealthy or the financially sophisticated. Investing is simply putting your money to work so it grows faster than inflation. If you keep all your money in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest, while inflation is running at 3%. You're actually losing purchasing power every year. Your money is becoming less valuable just sitting there. Investing combats this. You don't need to become a day trader or spend hours analyzing stock charts. For most people, simple, diversified, low-cost index funds are the perfect solution. An index fund is a fund that tracks a market index like the S&P 500, which represents 500 of the largest companies in America. When you buy an index fund, you're buying tiny pieces of all those companies at once. This gives you automatic diversification. If a few companies do poorly, others do well, and overall, you benefit from the growth of the entire market. Historically, the stock market has returned about 10% annually on average over long periods, though it fluctuates significantly in the short term. This is why investing is for money you won't need for at least 5 to 10 years, ideally longer. One of the biggest mistakes people make with investing is trying to time the market. They wait for the perfect moment to invest, or they panic and sell when the market drops, or they chase hot stocks they hear about. All of this is counterproductive. The most successful investors are the ones who invest consistently over time regardless of what the market is doing. Dollar cost averaging is the practice of investing the same amount regularly, like every month. When prices are high, you buy fewer shares. When prices are low, you buy more shares. Over time, this averages out your cost basis and removes emotion from the equation. You're not trying to predict the future. You're just consistently putting money to work. Another critical concept is asset allocation, which is how you divide your investments among different types of assets like stocks, bonds, and cash. Generally, the younger you are, the more aggressive you can be with a higher percentage in stocks because you have time to ride out market volatility. As you get closer to retirement, you gradually shift toward more conservative investments like bonds that are less volatile because you need to start using that money soon. Insurance is an often overlooked but crucial component of personal finance management. Insurance is how you protect yourself from financial catastrophes. Health insurance protects you from medical bills that could bankrupt you. Homeowners or renters insurance protects your property. Auto insurance is legally required and financially essential. Life insurance provides for your dependents if you die unexpectedly. Disability insurance replaces your income if you become unable to work. Many people resist paying for insurance because it feels like wasted money if you never use it. But insurance isn't about hoping you'll use it. It's about making sure a single event doesn't destroy everything you've built. The key is having adequate coverage without being overinsured. For term life insurance, a general rule is to have coverage equal to 10 to 12 times your annual income. For disability insurance, look for a policy that covers 60 to 70% of your income. For health insurance, don't just choose the cheapest plan. Consider your actual health needs and what the total out-of-pocket costs might be with different plans. For homeowners insurance, make sure you have enough coverage to rebuild your home at current construction costs, not just its market value. Tax planning is another area where people leave enormous amounts of money on the table. I'm not talking about tax evasion, which is illegal, but tax optimization, which is smart financial management. Understanding how taxes work and using the legal strategies available to minimize what you owe can save you thousands of dollars every year. This starts with understanding your tax bracket and the difference between marginal tax rates and effective tax rates. Your marginal tax rate is the rate you pay on your last dollar of income, while your effective tax rate is the average rate you pay on all your income. Many people don't understand this and make poor financial decisions as a result. Contributing to tax-advantaged retirement accounts reduces your taxable income today. Contributing to a Roth account means you pay taxes now but never again, even on the growth. Depending on your situation, one might be better than the other. Health savings accounts are triple tax-advantaged. Money goes in tax-free, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free if used for medical expenses. Maximizing these accounts is one of the smartest moves you can make. Estate planning might seem like something only wealthy people need to worry about, but everyone should have at least basic estate planning documents. A will specifies how you want your assets distributed after you die and who should care for your minor children if applicable. Without a will, the state decides these things according to generic formulas that might not reflect your wishes at all. A healthcare directive or living will specifies what medical care you want if you're unable to communicate your wishes. A power of attorney designates someone to make financial and legal decisions for you if you're incapacitated. These documents aren't fun to think about, but they're acts of love and responsibility toward your family. They ensure your wishes are honored and reduce the stress and conflict your loved ones face during already difficult times. For people with significant assets or complex situations, more sophisticated estate planning involving trusts and other vehicles might be appropriate, but everyone needs the basics regardless of their wealth level. Financial goals give your money management purpose and direction. Without goals, managing money feels like pointless drudgery. With clear goals, every financial decision becomes a choice between competing priorities, and that clarity makes decision-making much easier. Your goals should be specific, measurable, and time-bound. Instead of saying, I want to save money, say, I want to save $10,000 for a down payment on a house within 3 years. Break that down further. $10,000 in 3 years is about $278 per month. Now you have a concrete target. Divide your goals into short-term, medium-term, and long-term categories. Short-term goals might be things you want to accomplish within a year, like building that initial emergency fund or paying off a credit card. Medium-term goals might be 3 to 5 years out, like saving for a down payment or paying off your car. Long-term goals are things like retirement, paying off your mortgage, or funding your children's education. Having goals in all 3 time frames keeps you motivated, because you're always working towards something and regularly achieving milestones. Let's address one of the most contentious topics in personal finance: keeping up with others. Social comparison is absolutely toxic to your financial health. You see your neighbor's new car, your coworker's exotic vacation, your friend's beautiful home renovation, and you feel pressure to match them. But here's what you don't see. You don't see their credit card statements. You don't see their stress levels. You don't see them arguing with their spouse about money at 2 in the morning. Many people who look wealthy are actually drowning in debt. They're borrowing from their future to impress people in the present, and it's a losing game. The only person you should compare yourself to is your past self. Are you better off today than you were a year ago? Are you making progress toward your own goals? That's what matters. This is especially important in the age of social media, where everyone curates their life to look perfect. Those Instagram posts showing luxury and leisure rarely show the full picture. Focus on your own journey, define success on your own terms, and measure your progress against your own benchmarks. Teaching financial literacy to children is one of the most valuable gifts you can give them. Most schools don't teach practical money management, so kids grow up financially illiterate and repeat the same mistakes their parents made. Start teaching money concepts early in age-appropriate ways. Young children can learn that money is exchanged for goods and services, that we have to make choices because we can't buy everything, and that saving means waiting for something we want. Older children can learn about earning through chores, budgeting their allowance, and the difference between needs and wants. Teenagers can learn about compound interest, credit cards, student loans, and investing. Include your kids in appropriate financial discussions. Let them see you making financial decisions, and explain your reasoning. When they want something expensive, help them create a savings plan to earn it rather than just buying it for them. These experiences teach delayed gratification, goal setting, and the value of money in ways that lectures never could. Relationships and money are deeply intertwined, and money issues are one of the leading causes of relationship stress and divorce. Couples need to be able to talk openly and honestly about money, but many find it harder to discuss finances than almost anything else. Start by understanding that you and your partner probably have different money mindsets shaped by your different upbringings and experiences. One of you might be a natural saver while the other is a spender. One might be risk-averse while the other is comfortable with risk. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong, but you need to understand each other and find compromises that work for both of you. Have regular money meetings where you review your finances together without judgment or blame. Discuss your goals, your progress, and any concerns. Decide together how you'll handle your accounts, whether you'll combine everything, keep everything separate, or use a hybrid approach with joint accounts for shared expenses and individual accounts for personal spending. Agree on dollar amount limits for individual purchases before you consult each other. Be honest about any debt you bring into the relationship. Financial infidelity, hiding spending or debts from your partner, is just as damaging as other forms of infidelity and destroys trust that's difficult to rebuild. Let me share something powerful about abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. A scarcity mindset sees money as a finite resource that's running out, and it creates fear, hoarding, and envy. An abundance mindset sees money as something that can be created and grown. And it creates confidence, generosity, and collaboration. Your mindset affects your financial outcomes more than you might realize. People with scarcity mindsets miss opportunities because they're too afraid of losing what little they have. They undervalue their work and don't negotiate for higher salaries. They make desperate financial decisions that often backfire. People with abundance mindsets invest in themselves through education and skill development. They negotiate confidently. They see setbacks as temporary rather than permanent. They're willing to take calculated risks because they believe in their ability to create value. Developing an abundance mindset doesn't mean being reckless or unrealistic. It means believing that with effort, learning, and smart decisions, you can improve your financial situation. This belief becomes self-fulfilling because it changes how you approach opportunities and challenges. Automation is your secret weapon for financial success. The less willpower you have to exercise to do the right thing financially, the more likely you are to actually do it. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account on payday. Set up automatic payments for your bills so you never miss a payment or incur late fees. Set up automatic increases to your retirement contributions. Set up automatic investments into your brokerage account. When these things happen automatically, you adapt your spending to whatever's left rather than trying to save whatever's left after spending. This simple shift from manual to automatic can be the difference between success and failure in reaching your financial goals. It removes emotion and discipline from the equation and replaces them with systems. You essentially putting your finances on autopilot for the most important things while maintaining control and flexibility for everything else. As we wrap up this comprehensive look at personal finance management, remember that managing money is a skill. And like any skill, you get better with practice. You will make mistakes, you will have setbacks, and that's completely normal and okay. What matters is learning from those experiences and continuing to move forward. Financial management isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making better decisions today than you made yesterday and building systems that support your long-term success. The goal isn't to become the wealthiest person in the world. The goal is to reach a point where you have enough to live the life you want without constant financial stress and anxiety. That point is different for everyone, and that's fine. Define what financial success means to you based on your values, your goals, and your vision for your life. Then create a plan to get there. Execute that plan consistently. Adjust as needed, and celebrate your progress along the way. Your financial future is not determined by where you are today or by how much you earn. It's determined by the decisions you make and the habits you build starting right now. Take control of your finances, and you take control of your life. That's the real power and the real promise of personal finance management.